to the Big Book Roundtable in the RICO 12 family of recovery resources targeted at people from all backgrounds, faiths, and places dealing with addictions of all varieties. We're just excited to be here around this virtual roundtable. I love sitting here with David and with Nikki and diving deep into the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous line by line. If you've been with us for the last, and this will be, about the 80th, 82nd, something like that, time that we've recorded in this, and we are getting close to finishing up chapter 5 into action. But the last handful of recordings that we've done have been so deep and so powerful, and I'm just excited to continue on this process to do this. So let's take just a minute and have David and Nikki introduce themselves, and then we'll get into going into the next section of this. David, why don't you start off?
Sure, Justin. Thank you so much for your service as always. And Nikki, it's such a pleasure to be here with you as well. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic addict recovered by the grace of God, and just so incredibly grateful to be here at the roundtable today. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Thankful to have you here. Nikki, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M., and I'm a grateful member of many fellowships. And of course, my book says I'm a child of God, and I'm an intelligent agent spearhead, and I'm your fellow today. So thank you for trudging the happy road of destiny with me. I love you both.
Thank you, Nikki. We're grateful to have this. Well, I'm grateful to sit around this table with these two powerhouses, these two spearheads, these two agents of God. All right. As I mentioned, we will continue in chapter 5, how it works. We're going to read just a handful of paragraphs, I think 3 or 4 paragraphs on pages 69 and 70, starting with the paragraph that starts with, "In this way we tried," and we'll end up on page 70, would mean heartache, the paragraph that ends with would mean heartache. Now, grab your big book, grab a paper, pencil, pen, highlighter, however you take notes, and get ready to jump into this and dive deep as we do this. And I'll read these paragraphs first, and then we will listen to some experience, strength, and hope from our participants around this roundtable. Here we go. "In this way, we tried to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We subjected each relation to this test. Was it selfish or not? We asked God to mold our ideals and help us live up to them. We remembered always that our sex powers were God-given and therefore good, neither to be used lightly or selfishly, nor to be despised and loathed. Whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. We must be willing to make amends where we have done harm, provided that we do not bring about still more harm in so doing. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. In meditation, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want it. God alone can judge our sex situation. Counsel with persons is often desirable, but we let God be the final judge. We realize that some people are as fanatical about sex as others are loose. We avoid hysterical thinking or advice. Suppose we fall short of the chosen ideal and stumble. Does this mean we are going to get drunk? Some people tell us so, but this is only a half-truth. It depends on us and on our motives. If we are sorry for what we have done and have the honest desire to let God take us to better things, we believe we will be forgiven and will have learned our lesson. If we are not sorry and our conduct continues to harm others, we are quite sure to drink. We are not theorizing. These are facts out of our experience. To sum up about sex, we earnestly pray for the right ideal, for guidance in each questionable situation, for sanity, and for the strength to do the right thing. If sex is very troublesome, we throw ourselves the harder into helping others. We think of their needs and work for them. This takes us out of ourselves. It quiets the imperious urge when to yield would mean heartache." All right, there's pretty powerful things in there. David, why don't you take us through that and help us see a few things here from your experience, strength, and hope.
Sure. You guys bear with me. I've been fighting a head cold for the last couple of days, so my voice is a little different than normal, but After we have answered these 9 questions, where had I been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate? And I need to be writing on each one of those according to the way that I have done this step and the way that I do these steps with the people that I work with. We're going to have a lot of writing down here. And so mostly the last 2 questions, where was I at fault? What should I have done instead? In this way, we're going to try to shape a sane and sound idea for our future sex life. Now, that's something we do. We sit quietly, we pray, we ask God, and we let that come to us, and whatever it is what we end up putting down. So, it's not something that we skip here. I used to just read through this and not ever do anything. But the one that I wrote, it's been a little while back now, and I try to go back and revisit this often. In fact, I'm about to do another one, a sane and sound idea, because I've looked at more inventory. But the one that I wrote back then reads like this, and this had to come off the end of my pen by spirit, because there's no way that I could have done this. And it says, I will honor God and all women. I will not lie, cheat, take advantage of others. I'll trust instincts and intuition. I will not use lies and deceit to manage and control others or myself. I will develop my life for the greater good. I will place character above money and concern for others above personal gratification. I'll not boast, but practice humility. I'll honor and respect women first and foremost and always, especially my wife. I will turn away from sexism and all its guises, and I'll be a loyal friend and a partner. And I'll help others with the mistakes I've made and live with courtesy and honor, giving all honor to my God. And that's what my sane and sound idea was. Now, as most of us know, there's no way that we're going to be able to live up to that 100% every day. We're just not. But it's a daily aim. It's something that I strive for, and it's something that has become more easy as time has went on. I've set certain boundaries in my life in this area. I'd crossed over some actually at one time, but God sparing me from that misery and going back into all that hell again. At that point, I made my mind up. There's certain things that I will not do anymore, and I just don't do it. I have a lot of people approach me after conferences, women, wanting my number, this and that. In fact, I spoke at a big conference this past weekend, and I had a lot of women approach me, and of course they just wanted to know more about the program. And so I pulled my wife over and I said, why don't you give them your number so that they can contact through me? And then there's another lady here that I sent out your number as well. I hope you don't mind, Miss Nikki. So, that's one of the boundaries that I have. So in that way, I try to shape a sound idea. But there's a lot of prayer work right here, and we don't want to miss this prayer work. But I love this one sentence. It says, we remembered that our sex powers were God-given and therefore good. And when I fantasize about a woman or I objectify a woman, whether they know I'm doing that or not, there is something about that movie clip that goes on in my mind that's very degrading to another human being, whether they know it or not. Now, if you read another book, In the Beginning of Time, Man and Woman, this and that, it was created in love. And if we can get back to that idea of not hurting people with this kind of stuff, but practice love, then our sex powers are God-given and therefore good. And we don't want to despise or loathe that. So whatever that ideal turns out to be, and mine, you just heard me read mine, we've got to be willing to grow toward it. It doesn't say that we have to live up to that 100% every day. Chances are we probably won't on most days. But I've got to be willing to grow toward it, and I must be willing to make amends where I've done harm. Now, this is the first time amends has been mentioned in this book since Bill's story. It's just pretty important right here for sure. And provided that we do not bring still more harm in doing so. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem in meditation. And I love to practice meditation today. This kind of falls along with two-way prayer. Look at how it reads. We ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want it. So it's not only me asking God, it's me listening to God. And I really try to stay close to this today. And I can honestly tell you for a long time now, thank God I've been in a very good place with this stuff. So God alone can judge our situation. There's an important line right here that I think a lot of us need to pay attention to as people who sponsor other people that have been victims of abuse. Now, we may not have been, I have been, but some people are not. And it says counsel with persons, there's an S on the end of that, is often desirable. So if I'm trying to help somebody through something I haven't been through, I'm not doing that person any good at all. I need to direct them to people that can help them. We let God be the final judge. We realize some people are fanatic as sex, as others are loose. We avoid hysterical thinking or advice, even in the fellowship of whatever fellowship we may be in. And that hysterical advice, thinking or advice, is whether I'm receiving it or whether I'm giving it. I need to realize that some people are just fanatical about that stuff. If it doesn't line up with the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, if it doesn't line up to the good book, which I read a lot of these days, then I don't need your advice. I don't need it at all. But suppose we fall short of that chosen idea and stumble, doesn't mean we're going to get drunk. Some people tell us so. Of course they will. But look, the book says no, that's only the half truth. If your motives are selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate, all of these things, then yeah, the chances are if you continue to hurt people, you're going to. But if I'm sorry, and I can remember just being so sorry for what I'd done, and really have an honest desire to let God take us to better things, not my sponsor, he's a big asset in all this, but really it comes down to God. God is mentioned 7 times in this reading that you did today, Justin. We believe we'll be forgiven and learned our lesson. If we're not sorry, our conduct continues, we're going to drink. And that's not a theory, that's a fact. So, look, it comes right back to prayer. To sum up, we pray for the right idea. Now, this is the prayer work that is connected to this. And when I take a guy through this portion of the work, this prayer work is something that he has to do pretty regularly. And for me, this has become a part of my daily activity, even after I finished writing inventory. And I'm not even, I'm in 10th and 11th step all the time. But I want to continue to pray for the right idea, for guidance, for sanity, for strength to do the right thing. I want to pray that I would throw myself harder into helping others. I need to pray, because if I don't stay close to God, I tell you, the God of reason in the form of lust and sexual activity will come back to see me pretty fast. So if I fall short of the chosen idea, it doesn't mean that, that I'm going to drink, but it means that I better start looking to get renewed pretty quick. I've fallen into conduct within my mind before, since I've written that, but by God's grace, physically, I never have. I don't even want my mind there anymore. I want that channel open between me and God, and me and you. And I honor my sisters today. I just do. Whenever I say that I don't talk to women, it's not because of any of you women. It's because of me. So anyway, thanks so much for letting me share today. I'm really glad to be here with you guys.
Thanks, David. Really appreciate you diving into that, and the sound ideal, and the sane and sound ideal. We'll definitely follow up on that in the next portion of this. Nikki, why don't you take us through and share your experience, strength, and hope based on what we just read?
Okay, thank you so much. And David, thank you. Your story fascinates me because, you're sober in your main fellowship, but you weren't sober in so many other ways. And I'm just fascinated by that, because I get a lot of people who come and tell me they're so dry date. And that's not what we're aiming at here, everybody. So I just love you guys. Thank you. In this way, okay, so many times, everybody, I used to have this sane and sound future, not just sex life, this relationship life, this fantasy life. And it'd be like, okay, I want him 6'4", green eyes, he's got to be a single dad. And I would list to high heaven all these things. You know what my list was when I really got with God, it was this: I want someone who loves God more than me. It was that simple for me. And then, as many of you know, almost 6 years ago, I was on a beach in Cuba, and God put this guy from Luxembourg on there, right on the beach in front of me. And I was just one of those things. It was God. And this guy, how did we connect? We talked about God. It was a God, like someone who loves God more than me. That is what I want. And so it says we subject each relationship to this test. And it's funny, I'm a little rattled before I came on here. I've got so many things going on in my life, but I'm realizing some of my fellows, my relationships, my neighbors, like these relationships, I have to subject all of these to, is it selfish or not? And it says I have to ask God. See, that's the properly appointed authority, not my sponsor, not my mom, not my pastor or my, my yoga teacher. The properly appointed authority is God, and to mold our ideals and help us live up to them every day. See, and I always forget this, but I love where it says we remember always. And I don't remember always that my love, sex powers, my feminine powers were God-given and not to be used lightly or selfishly. I mean, I would throw that stuff around. I like to get my eagle on with anybody and everybody whenever I can in my younger days. Now, God removes this stuff. I don't even look at you guys anymore like the beautiful male creatures that I once did. I just see children of God. I actually just see souls. I actually see myself, because inside of you is me. And so I love where it says, I must be willing. That's all it is, willing. Doesn't say run out and do it, to make an amends. And the steps are designed literally to not cause more harm or more damage. Like they're not to cause harm to anybody. That's why we're here. We're learning how not to do more damage. That's the whole idea of this whole process, is to how, let me find it, because I have a question written in my book that I always ask myself. It's like, how do I repair the damage I've done without doing more harm? How do I repair the damage I've done without doing more harm? That's a big question. And in meditation, see, I got a meditation. I have to ask God what I should do about each specific matter. And the right answers will come. And here's a key word: if I want it. See, I don't want the right answers. I want my need to be right. I want to hear. I want to be heard. I want you to validate me. And of course, God alone can judge I love this song by Tupac. Okay. It's like he writes this song, Only God Can Judge Me. And it's a really great song. And that's true. Only God can judge me. And right before I came on here, I had a woman say, I don't think you should chair next week's meeting, Nikki, because you've relapsed on your behaviors. What behaviors? I've lost my mind. I didn't follow the exact instructions. The book says I'll make mistakes. This is, of course, coming from someone with 1 year of sobriety and who knows everything, of course. So I have to just pause and counsel with persons, the right persons. We're going to read further on that we need to talk to the right person. Not everyone understands what we're driving at, and I have been listening to hysterical thinking and advice. My line out says secret garden. I want to go deep real quick. Please, everybody, be careful who you speak to. Not only are the rooms not safe because we're all sick people helping sick people for free, the world isn't safe. So please be careful. And then, of course, the next paragraph, I have motives on here. Are you checking your motives? This is all about what are my motives? A sincere desire to be helpful, wanting nothing in return is what my book says. And if I'm sorry for what I've done and I have an honest desire, we're going to read in a few pages too. It says, if you can honestly say to yourself that you're sorry, don't worry about it. So I literally don't worry about it. I go, I messed up. I can do better. I was wrong. We read some previous pages. We're not saints. And I love this. They're not theorizing on this. These are facts. My book is a fact finding book, and I believe it. So to sum up, and where it says about sex, I want everyone to sum up about relationships, sum up about love, to sum up about fantasy, to sum up about everything. It says we earnestly pray. Are you earnestly praying every day for the right ideal? Comma. Are you earnestly praying for guidance in each questionable? I'm in a questionable situation with my in-person home group right now. I need to really earnestly pray for guidance. I need to earnestly pray for sanity around those relationships, not just my sex relationships, and for strength to do the right thing. See, if sex, if relationships, if life, if drugs, if alcohol, if food, if anything is troublesome, I have to throw myself harder into helping other people. I sponsor night and day because love, I exchange sex for love. I exchange sex for love. And so I need to throw myself harder every day into helping others. And I need to think of their needs and work for them. It will take me out of myself. See, because I'm consumed with self. And then it says this, it will quiet the imperious urge. That is my obsession. I am obsessed with something all the time. And I need it to be quieted, because when I yield, when I give into it, it would mean heartache. And the guys I'm sitting around at this table knows that when we give into this obsession, it destroys not only ourselves, but everyone around us. I love you guys. Thank you. I need to hear this today.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. I appreciate your sharing of your experience, strength, and hope. I have a couple questions that I'd like to ask you. Let's start with David. You mentioned that you're about ready to do another sane and sound ideal, to rework that, to grow towards it, whatever that looks like. David, why and how should a decision be made to seek another sane and sound ideal? What does that process look like in the lives of those of us who are walking this path?
Well, thank you for that question, Justin. And for me, it's just that my ideals are grounded much deeper than they were whenever I wrote this prior one. And of course, it was a very good one and very honorable. But today I'm more on a biblical course of action, as well as the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm not ashamed to say that at all. But there's so many things that I see in there now that will keep me away from this deadly trap. As Nikki mentioned, this is probably the biggest problem issue in our fellowship, in our world, in our society, in our communities today. It destroys more people than anything else that I've ever seen in the fellowship after getting free from drugs and alcohol. It doesn't matter where I ever go, the talks I give, I always have people with great years of sobriety approach me and say, I'm just struggling to death with this inside of these rooms. But they're afraid to step forward and say anything, because of the kickback that often happens. But for me, it's good to continue to improve that relationship with God and look more at what he says about these things, what I need to do to stay in alignment with him. And so that's why, I'm looking at doing another one now. One of the things that I don't want to do anymore is I don't want to objectify women. I don't want to, without them even knowing it, me be looking at them in an inappropriate way, and there's just so many things that I want to do because I want to keep that channel clean between me and a power greater than myself. And in order for me to do that, I need to continually revisit these sane and sound ideas and try to live up to them more and more. Now, that's just me. I don't require my guys do that. But now in two-way prayer, one of the things I hear over and over and over and over again, be honest, be pure, be loving, be all these things, and in order for me to do that, I need to go back and see where I haven't been. So I don't know. It's just a good idea for me. I never only have written inventory one time in 30 years. I've written it hundreds of times. So it would be no different here. I just continue to seek a higher connection with God as I understanding. And in order for me to do that, my ideals must continually change as well. So thank you, Justin.
Thank you, David. Nikki, the question I have for you, in fact, the question that I wrote, I'm actually changing it right now because as I was going through this thought hit me, and I'm going to trust it's a God thought. The last sentence in the bottom full paragraph on page 69 says, "The right answer will come if we want it." Nikki, will you dive into that sentence for us and just give your experience, strength, and hope on that? What are your thoughts on that? How do we get that right answer? And how do I want it? I mean, oftentimes I'm resistant to that. Talk to me about your experience with. Oh, you're on mute. Go ahead and come off mute, Nikki.
Thank you. I'm half asleep. Thank you, honey. And my internet's weird, so I hope that's okay today also. Great question. The right answers. See, I don't want the right answers. I want what I want. Does that make sense to everybody? I don't want the right answers. I want my own little plans and designs. I want my own little fantasy about how life should be. I don't want the right answer because sometimes the right answer is not part of my plans and designs. And that can be very painful, especially as I'm Nikki M. I'm a hardcore fantasy addict. I love the last page of the book. Sorry, the stories. It's not the actual last, but it's the last page of the stories on page 559. It says, above all, we reject fantasizing and accept reality. See, I don't want to accept reality, and I don't want the right answers. I just want my own little plans and designs. I want you to do what I want you to do. Remember, everyone, when we read The Actor Who Wants to Run the Whole Show? Sometimes I'm quite nice. Sometimes I'm a raging lunatic. So, want it. See, I don't want the right answers. I want what I want. But how I read it now is that I have to want it, which is God, which is this power, which is this God-given, beautiful energy frequency. I need to want God. And when I wanted God, when I wanted the spiritual principles more than I wanted him, well, then what happens? It will come. That's such a powerful, want it, will come, right answers. Like you can just, this is real. That's why I love just sitting here sometimes. We can sit on one sentence for an entire year. I heard Mark Houston say he sat on the word watch for 6 months, just watching. So I'm not going anywhere because this is a lifetime of exploration and diving and discovering and discarding. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. I really appreciate it. We're going to jump into takeaways here now. And I'm going to lead us off a little bit, and I'm going in a different direction than I thought I was going to go. I think this is another God thing. This morning in my personal readings of what I consider to be holy writings, I went through what are commonly known as the Ten Commandments. And I thought, well, what in the world? Why am I still going through this stuff? This is old stuff. This is whatever. It's outdated. And then I had the thought come to my mind that it's because God gave these to me, and I'm just going to go in the first person, to keep me happy, to keep me safe, to show me, if let's see what we just talked about here. The right answer will come if I want it. If I don't want it, it's not going to come, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to kick against it. And as I read through this and I ponder on these, and I don't apologize. I'm just going to bring this in there. So many of those commandments relate directly to this topic. If I love God more than anybody else and anything else, I'm not going to misbehave sexually. If I don't commit adultery, I'm not going to misbehave sexually. If I don't covet my neighbor's wife, I'm not going to misbehave sexually and have these issues come up. And what happens? What is the result from that? I'm happy. I'm free. I'm not harming other people through the use of these God-given and therefore good powers. I keep them the way God directs me to do that. And that's my takeaway from this, bringing in some outside stuff into the big book. And it's been really powerful for me to see that. David, why don't you take and give us some takeaways from our conversation today?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love your share and yours as well, Nikki. It's so good. That is a very important sentence in our book. And I really enjoy breaking that down and taking a closer look at it as well. It says we would treat that as we would any other problem. In meditation, I ask God what I should do about each specific matter. Now, that's relating to the 9 questions above. I've already answered those questions prayerfully if I've done this work correctly. I didn't just go in and start writing my idea about all this stuff. I really went into prayer and I really began to answer these. So when he says the right answers will come, it's already come. If I've done this, where had I been selfish? Now, notice that this is talking about conduct. They really don't talk a whole lot about sex. It's kind of like with drinking. Drinking is the effect, it's not the cause. That's the same way it is with sex. So the right answer will come of how these selfish and inconsiderate motives have kept me in bondage. It's going to show me how that right answer will come to get out of that if I want it. Well, what does this book tell us over and over and over that answer is? Continue to help others, continue to help others, continue to help over and over and over and over. So if you want to know what the solution to this is, that's what it's going to be. That once I become free of this, I'm going to have to help other people, and that's been my experience over the last 5 years. I've helped hundreds of people to really get on the right path and take a different walk with this. So I love that. I love that sentence for sure. Ask God what we should do. That's two-way prayer to me. I ask God, he reveals to me what I should do, and then I need power to carry that out. The right answer will come if I want it. That should be a question. Do I want it? Do I want this more than I want anything? Do I want to recover here? And if I can answer yes to that, then there's some things that I'm going to have to do, and it's probably not what I'm going to want to do. I'm going to have to set some boundaries. There's some things people I'm going to have to walk away from. I just am. I'm not going to carry on with my coworkers in conversation anymore whenever they're talking about all the things that we used to talk about when it comes to women. I don't do that anymore. And so that would be my takeaway as well. Ask God what I should do and then get off my ass and go do it. So thank you, brother.
Thanks, David. I love that. Ask what I should do and get off my ass and get going on it. All right, Nikki, what's the takeaway you have from our conversation today?
Well, just listening to you guys, I guess really is that, hi, I'm Nikki M. I'm a hardcore conservative woman with values of God. Like, I used to be a liberal. I used to be a burlesque entertainer. I would do anything, anywhere, and don't care about it. So my takeaway is that you get reborn here, and I'm shocked at these values I have. Like, no way. I am not that woman. I'm a woman of God. I don't do that anymore.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, David. And thank you all for joining with us on this. And I want to close this out just with that question. That question of, well, I'm losing. I'm not here. So anyways, ask God what the ideal should be. If you are beating your head against a wall and not finding serenity, the happy, joyous, and free that is promised to us in these things, and you're beating your head against the wall with these sex problems, whatever they may look like, the fantasy problems, the love problems, the relationship problems, ask God for that sane ideal, and the right answer will come if you want it. I believe that you are worth it. God believes that you are worth it. Keep working it because it does work.